Hey everyone, welcome back to Blockcast. It is time for the weekly rant where Will and me will talk about news, price action, and I guess whatever we want to in the crypto market. Today we've got a few things. We're talking a little about SPF again. We're talking about ETFs in the US. We're going to talk about price action. Obviously we've had a big pump this week. So welcoming to the show. Will, how are you today, mate?
Hey Simon, glad to be here. Nice to be back. Starting us off is our favorite weasel SPF. Early on in the week, it was trending, and it was actually even on the New York Times. And the news was that SBF had decided to rat out everybody else, and because of that, apparently the charges were dropped. So that was the news at the start of the week. What was your take on it, Simon?
I didn't see this actually till later on, I think. And maybe I'm just too immune. I just scroll past SPF stuff too quickly these days because I'm just not interested in it anymore. But it got a lot of traction at the end of the day. And I think a lot of people going, there's no way this guy can get away with this. There's no way. Turned out to be fake though, didn't it? I think he had some of his charges dropped is the true story. But I think he's got so many charges against him that they took away some minor ones that they weren't worth pursuing because they had such bigger ones to take him down with. Isn't that what occurred?
Yeah, I was a little bit upset at the beginning of the week because he's not my favorite character. Let me put it that way. And I thought, like, what's going on? Because the news said, he went off and gave money to the Democrats, is what everybody was saying, and Biden did something, and I guess he was released. But it turns out, like you said, it was just I guess most of it was fake news. It started off with some tweet, and I guess other tweeters got excited about it, and that blew up, and it ended up in the newspapers, and the whole thing just fed itself. And eventually, I guess a newspaper that kind of had a bit of self-respect stopped getting its news from the tweets and actually went and checked. And it turns out it was just a couple of charges that were dropped, and he's not free as such, but he is under house arrest at his parents' home in Palo Alto, which is where I'd go if I wanted my money back. But I'm sure he is heavily guarded.
Yeah, I mean, he's been under house arrest for a very long time now, so it's nothing new. But I guess the other interesting thing that came out is that one of everyone's other favourite person in the space, Kwon from Luna, he has been arrested in Montenegro, and I've heard he's just been sentenced to 4 months in prison. I haven't really delved
Oh my
into it because,
God.
again, I'm just ignoring these stories to a degree, but apparently he has been sentenced to 4 months before he's taken the Luna. I
And
don't know whether that's reasonable. Again, we've talked about Do Kwon before. We're not lawyers. We don't actually know what he's been charged with or anything like that, and we've
yeah,
not dug
yeah,
into it. But, these guys, I guess, aren't getting away with
yeah.
making people lose money.
Yeah, I know. And apparently, sometimes if one charge doesn't stick, I think they throw some other charge. And I know he was arrested in Montenegro, I think, for false passport. So I don't know if that's the reason that he's been arrested for 4 months. And I don't know what they're going to do with him. Are they going to extradite him after that? And then I guess the Koreans can do whatever they want with him. Oh my God.
It
But
brings an interesting question
yeah,
to us. Like, crypto is global. I guess a lot of these companies are based in some location, but where do you extradite these people to? Like, who gets to say, "Hey, I want that guy to come here. He made my people lose the most amount of money." I don't really know how they work that and
yeah,
choose that.
yeah. I think we should
I
get a
guess
lawyer
Luna.
onto this show and ask them. Yeah, yeah.
All right. Any lawyers out there? Leave a comment below, and we'll be in contact with you. Yeah, it would be interesting to understand the dynamics of international laws when it comes to crypto.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, from my experience with the companies I've worked for in crypto, a lot of the times the lawyers are also guessing, and they cannot always guarantee your safety. Sometimes they just go, they like to go probably. They like to go, you're probably safe, and if you do this or that, they go like, why did I hire you? I wanted some guarantees. They're like, oh, it's a new space, no rules. That's actually the problem with the blockchain space in that there aren't any laws, and what's happening is that governments are sort of like trying to fit a triangle into a square by applying Web 2 rules into Web 3, which is so different and something that's sorely missing. And it's kind of, I guess, we've been complaining about this for a while. But moving
Oh
on.
boy.
Hey, yeah,
I just say before we move on, so everyone just look out for the next couple of weeks when we have our lawyer on here to talk about these things. But you're right. Moving
yeah,
on. This one I don't know much about. You'll have to tell me about this. But French asset manager Casius offers. Is that assuming
yeah.
I'm saying it right? Offers cryptocurrency. What is that about?
Yeah, it's a French asset manager. $4.5 trillion in assets, pretty big. And I guess this week has been really bullish. And so they recently announced that they will be offering crypto custody on top of all of the other assets they hold. So $4.5 trillion is not a small amount. And so obviously they hold assets for mass. I don't know too much about the French and their asset managers, but it's clearly one of the biggest ones they have over there. And so they obviously have big players. And that's really exciting that maybe some of these assets or new incoming assets might be converted into crypto. Uh, that's really good news. That's
Yeah, I would.
amazing. I guess
I'd,
that's yeah.
I'd, I'd put the caveat in there that yes, $4 trillion in assets under management. It's a lot of money. That's not coming into crypto though. That maybe 0.5
Hmm,
percent of all of that will potentially be allocated towards crypto. That's usually how these big firms like that because they've got shares, commodities,
hmm,
every kind of asset, real estate. Those things will have huge amounts in all those mainstays. But them saying this means maybe 0.5% that gets allocated towards crypto. But it's a big thing, and it's great
yeah.
allowing more
Oh yeah.
people to get their money into the space. Okay, and moving on to our next topic. So, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, he's bullish on crypto, as he will.
That's what it sounds like. This guy used to be the biggest crypto bear ever, and you can go back all couple of years and you'll see all the terrible things he said about crypto, pyramid scheme, all that. But seems like he said that crypto appears to have staying power. Eventually, it comes out from his mouth. Wow. So that's pretty amazing. I mean, let's not get too excited. It was during a hearing on monetary policy, and this was a comment said in passing. So they were discussing interest rates and other things like that. But at some point, they did mention cryptocurrency, and two bullish things was that one, that crypto does have staying power, and two, that stable coins are also a viable form of money in that, well, you can have the dollar in paper form, and you can also have it in the banks, and it can also be on the blockchain. And I guess that was also probably related to CBDCs, which not a super fan of, but I still think it's really cool that I guess the haters are turning into lovers of sorts. and and part of that was sandwiched, I guess, into regulation of crypto assets. So I guess it all came as a package. But the news that really caught everybody's attention was that Jerome Powell thinks that crypto has staying power. How about that?
Yeah, I think it goes to show, I guess, is the world we live in where we clickbait and we clip something down to something really small and we get excited about it. So the crypto world got excited about this because Jerome Powell said it, but they didn't. You haven't heard anything about the entire rest of his speech, which may have been about all sorts of economic things, all sorts of macro things, but no, the crypto sphere
Mm,
just focuses on that. Very similar, I guess, to recently good old Gary Gensler when he was out there so talking about his new rules that he's trying to enforce on dot financing Coinbase. He was clipped for saying that we don't need any more digital currencies. That was clipped
mm,
massively and pushed out there huge amounts. I didn't hear the rest of his speech at all. Really, I just heard that kind of small framework of it. So yes, we live in a world where you can get in a lot of trouble, or you can get glorified for just a single sentence because that single sentence is what promotes us. So I would take this as a
mm,
grain of salt. Okay, the Fed chair says
mm,
crypto appears to have staying power. Many people have said that. Gary Gensler himself is also used to being very pro crypto. So people change their minds, and I wouldn't take too much from single sentences from people. I'd rather see how they perform and talk over the long term to really see a
mm.
direction or an opinion in their mind. But crypto Twitter gets excited when someone as big as him says something positive about the space.
Oh yeah, and especially during a bull run, and I guess I feel like news has been compounding this week, and part of that good news is BlackRock, which was last week, but that was followed by a couple of other players joining the team.
You're right. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of ETFs being applied for right now. And this is quite funny because I feel going back a few years, we had the same thing. We had, your Krakens and your Coinbases and Gemini's applying. Gemini was a big one. The Winklevoss twins really
Mm,
pushed it. They were applying for ETFs back in the day, and you could see there was 10 of them going through. And I remember people having lists of these are all the ETFs that are being applied for in
mm,
the US. None of them got through. They all got rejected. And so
yeah,
now
yeah,
BlackRock's done it, and now everybody's jumping on board. And now we're seeing all these big companies coming out and doing it. Like, hang on, we saw this not that long ago. I guess just with
yeah.
BlackRock, we've got a bigger name at the top of the list.
Mm. That's a really good point, Simon. So a lot of people have been excited about Fidelity, which is just a rumor for now, and Invesco and Wisdom Tree, Valkyrie. These are all pretty big guys, and they've all applied. Some of them, it might be the second time. I don't know. But I think, like you mentioned, I hadn't thought of it, is that crypto has a really short-term memory, and it's almost like it's the first time that somebody's applying for an ETF. And yeah. It's like
And again,
2017 all over again. Yeah.
remember, we're talking very US centric here. There are Bitcoin ETFs
Mm,
in Europe, in Australia, in Southeast Asia. So these things already exist in most regions. It's just literally the US. But to be fair, there's huge amounts of money in the US. So that's why people are getting excited about it. But they're just behind the times. Everyone else has done these things
yeah.
already.
Yeah. But regardless, it seems to have pushed the price up. I don't know if that was the only cause, but Bitcoin is back up to $30,000. Yeah.
Yeah, and it happened really quick.
Yeah.
We had 2 months of decline, and then most of that decline was just wiped out in the space of 1 week, really, as the price shot back
Mm,
up. And yeah, people like to
mm,
try and apply it to the news and say, yes, it's probably off the back of this uh,
mm,
this
mm,
ETF news. A lot of people are saying that it's just everyone realizing the SEC cases weren't as bad, and they know they're going to
mm.
drive out. And
Yeah.
then there's other people just saying, hey,
Yeah.
just look at the technicals, and we can see that we were in a wedge going down and that we were due for a
Mm,
breakout. So lots of things to ask the questions and try and point the finger of why. But I think the answer is that crypto market is volatile and it goes up and down very quickly.
yeah.
And we've just seen that in the last week.
Yeah. It seems that you just have to strap in your seatbelt at the right time, not follow the trend, but try to get behind the trend, as in get in before the trend starts. I do wish that I had seen this coming. My personal prediction was that June is usually a bearish month, followed by July, which is usually more bullish, and August a little bit more bullish. So I was planning to pick up my more Bitcoin, I guess, maybe in a week or so. But it seems that the markets beat me to it. Everybody got in a little bit early. Like I said, I don't know if it was the news about the SEC or BlackRock and Fidelity and the rest. But well, there you have it. Bitcoin is back up to 30K. I'm happy because I'm still holding a little bit. So I guess I'll be waiting for the next drop because it's obviously going to go down at some point. And since we're in a bull, when I see a small bearish period, this is not financial advice, but I'm personally jumping in. So I love bull markets as much as I love bear markets.
Yeah, and it's very easy to see on the technicals that we have put in higher highs and higher lows, and now we're pushing towards another
Mm,
higher high, which is clearly a bullish trend. So to say
mm,
that we're still in a bearish trend is probably close to being erased for most people who look at it from the technical side of things right now. We definitely do appear to be in a bit more of a bullish trend. And I would sit
mm,
there and think that if people are saying, "Oh, I'm going to wait for the next dip," you could be waiting for the next dip for a long time. So
that's the
it
thing.
always comes down to dollar cost averaging. Is always a great way. That way, you
Mm,
get some when it goes down, you get some when it goes up, and overall, you're generally better. I would like to just
mm,
say that in price wise in general, we're in the part of the cycle there where new liquidity is not really coming into the space as much. So there's no new money.
mm,
So if there's no new money coming in, then prices can't go up astronomical. What we're doing right now is we're just washing the liquidity that's currently in the
mm,
system. So Bitcoin dominance tends to go up at this point in time, and it has. I know it jumped up over 50%. And for those who don't know, Bitcoin
mm,
dominance is the Bitcoin market cap versus the entire crypto market cap. So Bitcoin
mm,
market cap got to 50% of the entire market cap. So the entire market cap is like $1.2 trillion dollars, and Bitcoin was 600 billion of that, half of it. So Bitcoin
yeah.
dominance goes up right now because everything's struggling. We are, out of probably the worst of the bear, but projects are still struggling and people are flighting to safety. So I think people are moving their money into Bitcoin. Bitcoin starts going up, and that causes the people in the space to start abandoning more of their altcoins and moving into Bitcoin to try and get that Bitcoin movement up. So that doesn't mean longer term you don't make more money from your altcoins. It just means temporarily right now people can do better with their money in Bitcoin until new money comes into the space, and then usually altcoins will massively outperform. But I think that's what we're seeing right now is a bit more recycling of people in the space because we're not getting new people in, so we're recycling our money within the space. That's causing Bitcoin to be pushed up, I think, as people abandon some of these altcoins, which they've lost faith in, or they just think that Bitcoin's going to be better in the short term.
Oh yeah, and there you have it. Bitcoin is dominating for now, but perhaps when the bull really kicks in, we'll have a lot more people excited. Relatives, I know, are going to start calling me, and I personally will tell them, hey, this might not be the time to go all in. Maybe, like you said, dollar cost average. But I guess it's a good point that the real bull will be here when we actually get a good amount of steam, good amount of volatility, and then the volume starts going up.
Exactly. That's when I'll sell. But yes, I think that is it for the weekly rant this week. Thanks, Will, for your time.
Thanks, Simon. Until next time.